one step closer to saving the world, but I'm not entirely sure the world fully registers that step. I suppose we'll have to see when we get back to Melmond, and if anyone has anything new to say. It's certainly not like we can tell what we've done by looking at the land around us, that's for sure. And clearly, the random encounters we come across in this area haven't changed after we killed both the vampire and the lich. I really wasn't expecting any changes like that, but I wouldn't have minded more signs that we've made a major step towards the ending than just seeing something different about the crystals when we open the menu. The more changes that happen due to the player's actions in a given game, the better in my opinion. Though I suppose a lot of the games I play, you don't go back to previous locations, so it's not that big of an issue. It's games where you can choose where to go and when to do something to some degree or another, instead of it being a strict mission structure that makes it a bit tougher to ignore the world not really reacting to your accomplishments. Okay, so it looks like Tyson is the only one who's taken more than one hit point of damage against the wards. Really says something that he's more squishy than the mages. Aha! So some people in town have changed what they say, not all of them, but enough for me to appreciate the effort. Yeah, only one level 5 spell really looks tempting for me in the black magic department here. Sorry, Wesker, guess you aren't getting much in this town. I'll take your word for it, since the land seems pretty much the same as it was when we first came to this town, as far as I can tell. I'm pretty sure we already heard about that higher-tech civilization from this same person, but since there's a chance I'm wrong, I'm letting those two bits of dialogue go at the normal speed to be sure. Yeah. Definitely not absolutely everyone gets new lines, but just a few is a nice little indication that people are acknowledging what we're doing. Since that's all for Melmond, it's about time to save and then head onwards to whatever the next location is going to be. Really wish that the game gave us more in-game indications for where we're supposed to go next. It's not like the game allows you to go to the dungeons in absolutely any order, even if you're kind of more free to move around in many locations at once than a lot of other games. The paths to the next locations don't actually open up until you get a specific thing or two done. There's more freedom to explore than a lot of explicitly linear games, especially these days, but it's still pretty linear at its core. So really, the fact that you're kind of expected to just stumble onto the next major location, or check an external guide to figure out your next step, is a little bit of an annoyance. But in a game this old, there not only wasn't all that much room to improve on things due to the limited amount of space they had to work with, they also didn't have too many other examples of this sort of thing to draw inspiration from. Again, Final Fantasy I was the first of its kind. The closest thing to this style of role-player game out there when this game was released was either Legend of Zelda or Ultima, both of which, yeah, very distinctly different beasts. And while I won't be doing absolutely every Final Fantasy game, and it's not like I'm playing the original release of the first one, it's going to be interesting to see how the series evolved as things went by. Anyway, just saw a hint of the next location apparently. We just have to fight our way to that town. I certainly appreciate that we're fighting against some fresh enemies by now. Huh. Still haven't quite graduated from the nunchucks yet there, Tyson. I was really expecting that to happen at this point. We're certainly close to him using bare hands, as opposed to using nunchucks, but yeah. Interesting name for a bug. Just looked it up. The first result is a Dungeons and Dragons monster. And the D&D artwork looks absolutely horrific to deal with. I'm kind of shocked that it looks like a generic bug in this game, considering it has that kind of origin. Okay, nice to see that high potions are available to buy at this point. It certainly took long enough. I probably should have more than 20 of both healing items, but I don't know how much other items we might want to buy in this town, and how much that's going to cost us. Okay, certainly hope that mithril gloves are comfortable to wear, though considering mithril is supposed to be a pretty light material, I'm kinda surprised that the warrior class is the only one able to equip that kind of glove. I know, I probably shouldn't judge how things should work based on the materials traits in Lord of the Rings. It's possibly very different in this Final Fantasy world than in Middle-earth, but still. Again, I can't help wishing we saw the stats of things while we're in the stores. It'd be especially nice to be able to see how things compare to the item we have equipped at this specific point in time to see if it's really worth buying. It's probably going to take us several games to be able to see something like that implemented in the series, though. Hell, part of me wants to be impressed that they had class-specific equipment in the absolute first game. Can you at least convince him to sleep in a bed instead of standing in a random corner of the town? And it doesn't really feel like a problem of priorities for him, at least to me. It feels more like he's got a very terrible work-life balance, and he might want to look for a job that doesn't just absolutely exhaust him to the point that he's barely alive. Anyway, once again, it looks like we need to level up some more before we're allowed to gain any of the local spells. And to make things just a little bit more awkward, we've gotten to a point where red mages would not be able to learn anything new. Or at least not everything. I mean, there are a few bear spells that they might be able to grab, but it's just kind of surprising to see that the red mage starts to drop off in terms of the magical portion of their skill set, just as we start working on getting the second crystal's location. Granted, I will very rarely have a red mage on my team. Usually I have a warrior, black mage, white mage, and with the fourth, I tend to either go with a monk or a rogue. The red mage is kind of a jack of all trades, which is all well and good if that's the only character you're gonna use. But when you have a team of 4, you kind of want a whole lot of specialists who excel at something, so if you run into trouble, you have more options than just the usual simple ones that you can get away with against non-bosses. Anyway, let's see what all these sages have to say for us. I'm not expecting any major pearls of wisdom, but I'll take what I can get. I suppose it's kind of interesting to learn that the bosses we come across in the shrines are explicitly drawing power from the crystals they're preventing us from restoring. But it's not much of a stretch to assume that beforehand, since, well, each monster has said element as part of their theme. I'd much rather know why these creatures showed up in the world in the first place. Are they a natural phenomena that happens to magical worlds supporting crystals? Or did some evil overlord put them there? I'm sorry, but just what do you mean by that? Are there two separate timelines we're gonna have to fight the same guys in or something? Okay, so the monsters showing up was spaced out by quite a bit. I suppose that certainly rules out a singular human being making things go that bad. Well, not anymore, he doesn't. The Lich is so dead at this point, he's gonna be reincarnated as a corpse. Right, so come back to this group of sages when we've restored all 4 crystals. I can't help feeling it would have been more impactful for us to head back to the town where it all began, rather than Crescent Lake, a town we come to in the... I'm sorry, these fiends had a schedule to keep and the fire one, got impatient? How do you guys know when she was supposed to awaken in the first place? Definitely want to know how these guys know when the Fire Fiend was supposed to start waking up and making the world a worse place. Still, at least now we know that the monster we need to take on next is the fire-based one, and that we're going to be fighting inside of a volcano. Hopefully when we get there, we aren't going to have to deal with some especially annoying gimmicks to dodge lava or something. Not really sure what I was expecting when I started talking with these guys, but I certainly appreciate that we got a canoe. There would certainly be no way to the volcano we need to reach without it, but I'm also pretty sure a lot of players over the years might not have even known about this place for a good amount of time. It's not like any other town in this game has a little extension to the right. And again, the game didn't ever gain an in-game map until the Pixel Remaster version. I suppose if you wander around randomly, you might stumble onto it, but every other location we've gone to has taught us that walking just one pixel outside of the designated area means you will leave it instantly. I just can't really say if this is the most unintuitive journey of its time, though. I'm fairly certain that Ultima had some pretty confusing moments of its own at this point in its series. And then there's the Castlevania games, with their occasional leap of logic into a twister. Lovely. Just canoeing to the volcano is a maze, which means that pulling back to hill is going to be more of a pain in the ass. Definitely hope we only have to enter the volcano once. At the very least, we won't have to worry about the same kind of forced interruption where we had to find a key item to unlock the final few force, like the last major dungeon. Okay, so axes seem to be super effective against plant monsters. I probably should have used fire against it, but to be fair, we're on a canoe in a river. How many games is it going to take for us to be able to better organize our inventory? Please don't tell me I'm gonna have to wait all the way until I get to Final Fantasy VII for that to be a thing. Granted, even when games give me a means to do so, I don't always use it, but still, I'd definitely appreciate the ability to rearrange our bags so it's easier to find what we might need at a given time. And god damn it, I was hoping we were done with goblins and werewolves. This seems about as good a point as any to save. Just need to finish this fight and we can take a slight break before walking straight into a frickin' volcano.